Catus Maximus here. General title of the video, because it seems all these bicycle crank bolt tools, you have a 14 millimeter for some cranks, and you have a 8 millimeter, which is for much more modern cranks and most mountain bikes. But it isn't about this particular XLC brand, but it seems like most of them, from Park all the way down, all make these the same way, which is they take like a relatively cheap even though I believe this one's Taiwanese made, relatively cheap 14 millimeter socket to custom machine it, and they even put a 14 millimeter hex, which I don't really quite understand. And then they press fit an 8 millimeter bolt into the old 1/4 inch square. So they actually machine an 8 millimeter down to a 1/4 inch square, and then press fit that into the back of the socket. I was at a bicycle shop, and they don't really recommend them because they had a few of them that have come loose. And so that's generally the story, is like, the thing about bicycle tools, even really nice ones like Park, still aren't, the easiest way to say it is they're not like what Snap-on would do, or another professional tool company, Proto, Mac, Coke, and whoever would do. You would think that a heavy duty wrench would be forged with the broach, broach socket in one piece. And they're not. They're doing it a bit cheaper. They're using like 3/16 or 4 millimeter steel here, and they're press fitting it, and there can just be issues with it getting loose. Also read online some issues with these 8 millimeters shearing, where they, right here, instead of them just, broaching out the socket to 8 millimeter hex, but a press fit, and then so it has the full diameter. So that's the real issue. Many of these do have a fork on the end, 15 millimeter as a pedal tool. This one happens to actually be a bottle opener. It's much thicker than like these types of hand tool company bottle openers I've been collecting. It's like a Super Duty one, so I'm going to actually just press fit this apart and just keep it as that, exactly. A heavy duty bottle opener with a hole in the end. But that's kind of the point of the videos. I would be wary of these and really just use a 3/8 socket and a breaker bar for the 14 millimeter. And buy yourself, if you're buying a crank Allen wrench, just buy a single one, a Wera or Bondhus, some other really high quality long handle hex key, even a stubby one so it fits closer, instead of using one of these tools. And I do wish a lot of these, I was looking around on Google, it seemed almost all these are like this press fit style, and it's just not as reliable when you're talking about a heavy duty tool. Many times these 8 millimeter bolts really get stuck. So anyway, let's see how tight this one really feels, since I'm just going to use it as a bottle opener. Got my little press. I'm using the little handle. Oh, yeah. That was barely in there. I used the super tiny, super short little handle and barely used any force. Alright, well, I'll adjust the video title because this XLC is a little bit different, and so now you can at least judge some of them which have a hex that you can see on them. And for some reason, I wasn't very good at noticing. It was just difficult to see because it kind of looked just like there was a hex, and then this little stamped ring around here, which seems a little bit strange. I wonder if that ring is really to kind of compress this hex. Still wasn't held in very tight at all. But really good press fits requires super high tolerances, and you can see this has just been a stamped hex, so it just doesn't get very good contact because there isn't even walls there, plus the heavy machining marks, so it's pretty easy to pop out. And that's what they may have done with this stamping here, is to actually cause it to shrink up. But you have to be careful. The difference of a thousandth of an inch or a couple thousandths of an inch is the difference between it either falling out or it splitting the ring. Nonetheless, I'll give this company, XLC, a little bit of credit for actually broaching a hex in there to reduce the chance or to prevent it from slipping. But nonetheless, as you use it, it will start to work itself loose, just because it's not a very good press fit, because there's just not a lot of surface contact. And then this is the 8 millimeter hex. You can see how they machined it down to a 1/4 inch drive. And surprisingly enough, it's a real light press fit. And you can see even the fluted drive on the socket there. It's kind of hilarious. Anyway, that's my little video of this tool. I'm still going to end up just keeping it as a bottle opener with a nice little eye to hang it off the wall. Nice Super Duty, super thick bottle opener. That's really about the best thing that's for it, so I'm sort of glad. But these things really could be improved. They could be a lot longer handle and these press fits need to be a lot better. So I guess I'll wish-wash back. I won't be titling this video XLC. I'll just keep it as I said at the beginning of the video. This is a general press fit bicycle crank bolt and nut tool. I would generally advise just against getting these, even though they're going to be pretty cheap, $10, $15 for cheaper ones. Even nice ones are like 30, 35 bucks. It's really just super occasional use they may work, but my advice is just use a regular 3/8 socket and breaker bar when you need a 14 millimeter and a high quality either socket, 3/8, 8 millimeter hex socket, or an L wrench versus one of these types of tools. Because if you use it more than just a few times, you will eventually work these loose. And then, of course, you have the issue here where this 8 millimeter isn't actually even full strength because of the way they machined it down. Anyway, really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Till next time, Catus Maximus out.